many West Ham fans actually get their news from the mainstream media? I think not many. Not many at all. Whilst a lot of us have sort of Sky Sports News on in the background and it's scrolling around and we probably sort of half listen to it, when the West Ham story comes around, we probably already know it. When you read that story in the newspaper, if indeed you even read newspapers anymore, that are about West Ham, not really for us, we already know it. Unless it's an interview with an interesting insight or an opinion piece, we already probably know the news. We just don't get our news as West Ham fans from the mainstream media. You use your favourite social media account, your favourite website, your favourite YouTube channel, your favourite podcast, whatever it might be. That's just how we absorb our information. And don't get me wrong, there's a certain amount of I guess jealousy on my part as to what I'm about to say now, because I'd like to go to press conferences. We used to go to press conferences. Who was it? Maybe 3 head of medias ago. Websites, certainly some YouTube channels, some podcasts. Used to get invited regularly to the press conferences. Truth of the matter is, I wouldn't be, even if I was invited to this one, that I think Graham Potter wasn't counter-questioned on, I wouldn't have been able to go anyway. But I think my bigger issue is that so much prominence is given to the mainstream media, to the newspapers, and they're really not the ones communicating with West Ham fans. In many respects, if there is an article about West Ham in the Guardian or the Daily Mail or the Times, or whatever it is, that's for other fans to read, not West Ham fans. I think because of that, what you get is you might get a journalist in a press conference who maybe watched Sunderland in the last game. Maybe he's going to watch Aston Villa in the next game. Maybe for this game he's at West Ham, but he doesn't know the nuanced differences. So when Graham Potter says something, he's not able to truly counter-question him. It's not just about Graham Potter, by the way. In fact, even more so with Hulan Lopetegui. Certainly times I felt with David Moyes would make comments about things, about a lack of squad depth, as if he was a victim in it, as if he had played no part. That's to name one of many, many things. I just sometimes wish a journalist would come back and say, well, actually, David, you turned down that player. You chose not to bring a player in that transfer window, or whatever the case may be. I just think there's certain things that fans of a football team will know a little bit better than maybe the assembled journalists. You do get some that are in there that are fans. So Moose, for instance, at Talk Sport. But you sort of always get the impression with Moose that he's just pleased to be there, don't you? You don't feel he's necessarily going to represent and ask maybe the tough questions. Maybe I got that wrong. It's always hard. They're never mic'd up in the press conferences. West Ham don't give a mic to the journalists. I think it's almost every other sport it's done. I think it's done at a lot of other clubs. Why we don't get to hear what the journalist has asked is a mystery to me. Anyway, here's what my gripe is today. Is Graham Potter seemed to be a little bit spiky in his press conference when it was time to question him about Evan Ferguson. And I think he should be questioned about Evan Ferguson. I absolutely do. Clearly, he was a little bit spiky, a little bit affronted by it. So I can only assume by his tone of voice and his manner and the way he answered that possibly Graham Potter doesn't think that Graham Potter should be questioned about Evan Ferguson. What he said was that Ferguson's been doing a lot, and he's been doing a lot well. He's coming back from injury. His game time is limited. It was always going to be limited. Evan Ferguson was always going to require a lot of patience. We're going to try and get some minutes into him. Okay, and I'm paraphrasing there, but more or less that was what was said. I thought, well, hold on a second. Because this is where you want the counter question to come back in, which is, hold on a minute. At the start of February, you said he was ready to play. You said he was ready to play. You said, in fact, he was equally spiky then. Because somebody actually asked a question, should we really be bringing Evan Ferguson into West Ham to cover your injury crisis, bearing in mind he's not ready to play? Graham Potter said he's ready to play. He's just played 20 minutes for Brighton. He's ready. Yet now, somebody asks why he hasn't played. He's basically, well, he's not tutting, but he seems agitated that someone would dare to ask the question. Well, mate, it's because your actions are in total contradiction to what you'd said when he came in. It's been a farce of a transfer so far. That's the truth of the matter. And we know about a farce of a January loan signing because we had one in Calvin Phillips last season. It's not been as headliney, talk about newspapers, it's not been as headliney as that, really, has it? Let's be perfectly honest. But it is, I don't know, it's not gone well. And I just find it particularly difficult to listen to him talk about how Ferguson needed time and, you know, it was always going to take time. It was always going to take patience. He didn't say these words, but he was pretty much saying we were always going to have to gently ease him in. Well, hold on a second, mate. By the time he is gently eased in, which is now, Nicholas Füllkrug's ready to go. You basically haven't covered any of the injury of Nicholas Füllkrug or Mikel Antonio. It's just not been done. So why did we bring him in? Why was this big forced effort to try and bring this player in? And moreover, why are you agitated about it? Why are you agitated when you're questioned about it? I just find it odd. I can honestly think of no reason at all. Well, look, all of it can't be true. Both of Potter's comments can't be true. There's got to be something else in it. Maybe we got him in and his injury was worse. That's the only thing I can think of. Actually, once we got him in, his injury was worse than we thought. But you don't hear that because he's always been on the bench. He's been available to play. You hear that Brighton are not particularly happy that he's not been playing any game time. He's not had any game time at West Ham. Somebody made a really great point the other day, which was actually it can be argued he would have got more game time at Brighton. And you can make that point. You can actually make that case. Particularly bearing in mind the games he missed at Brighton, he was injured and he's been available when at West Ham. He's just sat on the bench, basically not getting used. So I just find it hard to understand why Potter would bristle at that and get, hold on a second, getting all touchy about it. I don't know. Listen, I hope he plays. I really hope he plays tomorrow. I really do. I thought, okay, it might have turned. If it has, I suggested that maybe the last game was his last opportunity. Maybe Everton was his last opportunity to start with Füllkrug coming back. It may well be that probably Wolves is because Füllkrug may not be ready to start the game. Played 45 minutes behind closed doors, didn't he? And so, but otherwise, just realistically, what is the point? And it's created this weird sort of situation now whereby West Ham should really be playing Füllkrug because he's our player. Only one of two things. You either want to keep Füllkrug or you want to sell him. Either one means that you've got to play him. We either play him to get him ready for next season and to get us scoring and to get him integrated and used to playing with his teammates, get him creating a partnership with Jared Bowen or whatever the case may be, or we want to demonstrate to whatever Bundesliga clubs might want to hire him. Hire him. It may well be a hiring, actually. That may be the best we can do it. Maybe like he goes on loan with an option to buy or something like that. But if you want to get rid of him, you still want him playing and demonstrating form so West Ham can try and get their money back in the case of a non-hiring, of course. Either one he has to play. There is no reason. Let's say both players are 100% fit, Ferguson and Füllkrug. There is no reason to play Ferguson. None. None at all. Unless you were to think Ferguson is noticeably, brilliantly better. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I've seen next to nothing of either. Because as far as I'm concerned, on a permanent transfer, we've signed an injury-prone player who's not able to play, and on a loan transfer, we've signed an injury-prone player who's able to play, neither of whom I've really seen play in this fine... Well, it's not this fine. It's not this fine shirt. Let me get that bloody right. This is one of the best, isn't it? Yeah? This one, Adidas, it's one of the best. This one, I think, one of my favourites in modern times. People saying that's not modern. That's not a modern shirt. I guess it's not really, is it? It's over 10 years old. This shirt, so it's most definitely not a modern shirt. But yeah, I would call it modern times. One of my favourites. But anyway, I've not seen enough of either of those players in the claret and blue to tell you anything about them. Anyway, there you go. I'll tell you what is interesting. He got so spiky and so affronted. He wasn't throwing teacups or anything. You could tell he was annoyed at the question, though. And it happens. It's not just Potter. It happens to all of them. Honestly, all of them. I'm trying to think of a really happy-go-lucky... I don't know. Maybe let me know who you think. I don't think I've seen Eddie Howe annoyed at a press conference, but I don't watch him. I'm sure a Newcastle fan say, actually, is this one from this game? He was pretty agitated then. I sort of get it. I get it after a game as well, particularly if you've lost, where you might be agitated. But when you sat down in the privacy of your own porter cabin, doing your own press conference for West Ham, you know, and you got back into work, and you know, I don't know. I don't know why you would bristle at comments. But anyway, I think by him being as almost offended as he was at the suggestion that he'd not played Evan Ferguson, which he bloody hasn't, I think he's backed himself into a corner, really, and he's going to have to play them. I think he's going to have to. He's going to have to play Ferguson. He's going to have to play full crew. And let's be fair, we want to see it between now and the end of the season. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Not a lot else to talk about. People have been saying, you're bloody... I do this. People don't type like that, really, do they? And most people do, not on their phone. But people have been saying, you ain't got a lot to talk about. We haven't. Honestly, we haven't. There's only been 2 games in March. 2 games in March. We haven't had a lot to talk about. Some people say take a day off. It's my job. It's my job. I always like to say to the person, take a day off. You go down to a 3-day week with less money. You ain't going to do it, are you? So there's not a lot around at the moment. I'll tell you what, though. I really appreciate so many people joining in throughout the... It feels like a month. I know it's not been a month international break, but it has felt like a month international break. So thank you to everybody that has joined in. For those of you to watch, I've got pissed off. You should have watched Netflix. Watch Severance on Apple TV. That's a good one. Watch Adolescence. That's on Netflix. There you go. That's a tough watch that is, by the way. Tough watch. Anyway, you're not here for a TV review, are you? That's something we do over on Patreon. Well, we talk about it. We discuss intermittently. We haven't actually got. Don't sign up to Patreon because we've got a dedicated TV review. We really don't. But we do discuss what we're watching on our Naked podcast. So give it a whirl anyway. Got a 7-day free trial over on Patreon. I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Match day tomorrow. Thank goodness. I'm sure my excitement will possibly not be matched by the offerings on the football pitch. Let's hope it is. It's come up. But we'll deal with it. We'll discuss it. Tomorrow morning we'll discuss the match.